are live. Welcome to the Living in Jacksonville channel. Tonight we've got a special night. I'm super excited because I have some clients, actually friends that have relocated from Tampa to Jacksonville, and some of the people might be watching out there. Why would you do that? But the reality is that a lot of people, the last couple of years, because of the Living in Jacksonville channel, a lot of my relocations have been from out of state. Well, now a lot of people are getting slammed by insurance in South Florida and even the coastal parts of Florida. And we still here in Northeast Florida are very fortunate, knock on wood, that we haven't been as susceptible to storms where we're not getting slammed by massive insurance hikes compared to the rest of Florida. So tonight I want to introduce you good friends of mine. We become good friends. Our daughters are similar ages, so that's even cooler. That's a cool thing about my job. I want to introduce Jen and Tom Nagel. Welcome to the show tonight. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Hey, everybody.
Yep.
Thanks for having us.
We work together or off and on. I mean, it took a whole year to get your house built up here. We're going to talk about that amazing experience, good and bad. We want to keep it real. I told them, hey, I didn't prep them for anything, and anything that they want to talk about, I'm game. I like to say it how it is. So for anybody that's hopping on the show tonight, we'd love to know where you're from. This is totally interactive, so go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching from. And of course, if you have any questions for me or Jen and Tom Nagel, go ahead and put it in the comments. And if they're appropriate, we'll knock them out during the show. Otherwise, really quick before I start, the reason I was inspired to do this show, besides the fact that I have a lot of people that are considering moving to Jacksonville, are also considering Tampa. Ever since I don't have somebody helping me with this, I have to learn how to use this program, but I'm going to see if I can do this right. So let me share screen here. There it is. Can we see it? This is the one video I've done, and I was inspired by you two to make this video. And of course, Monica, my wife, also lived in Tampa. So I was inspired to do this video, best place to live, Jacksonville or Tampa. And we have 11,000 hits, or views, which is pretty incredible. So clearly, this is a place that people are seriously considering relocating to, as well as Jacksonville. I was also inspired at the time because the Tampa Bay Bucks and the quarterback at that time helped me out here. What am I forgetting his name? Tom.
Oh, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. So that was cool to watch Tom Brady and move over to Tampa and see them win a Super Bowl, which is very, very cool. So,
and that year, I have to add, not only did Tampa win the Super Bowl, but they also won the Stanley Cup in the same year. Pretty exciting.
Okay, so forgive me for this saying this, but the hockey team is
the Lightning.
The Lightning. Okay, cool. So you guys have you have NHL hockey as well, and we don't have that here. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. All right, let's start off this way. All right, I mean the basic questions. How long did you? Because you guys, I know we got together and you were chatting with my wife, and she knows the area. You guys lived in a very established, beautiful area of Tampa. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you found it and why you picked that area and how long you lived there?
So we moved in because I'm retired military, and we moved down to Tampa. About 2013, 2012, or 2012 we started looking. 2013 we moved, and at the time it was a popular spot for people to move to. Beautiful area and everything. Since then, it has grown a lot. Demand for housing has gone up quite a bit, and I think a lot of the things have changed in South Tampa where we were. We were kind of in the center of the peninsula, and lots of nice neighborhoods, but had some drawbacks that kind of drove us out to Nocatee. But At the time we had older children and a couple of young ones that were on the way. But I think the neighborhood aspect of it hadn't yet factored into it because we had kids that were in middle school and eventually high school. So, it was easier for them to find friends, get out and do their activities. And one of the factors that drove us to Nocatee was, more of a community feel where the kids could step out the front door and find friends. And we've got that all over the place in the neighborhood that we've moved into. But Tampa was great at the time that we moved for what we needed. But I think as our family grew, our needs just kind of changed, and Tampa didn't quite fit the bill. And we waited until our children graduated high school, our older two, and went on to college. And then we took our younger two over here to Nocatee to give them the neighborhood experience that we were lacking in Tampa.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there, Tom. You're military, right? And so was that part of the reason you discovered Tampa?
It was
all of the reason.
Yeah. I was assigned to Special Operations Command at MacDill Air Force Base, and we were in a good location where we moved. We built there. We happened to find Jen found a lot while she was looking for a place for us to live, and we were able to build a house. So, like I said, we got everything that we needed at the time, and it was a short commute for us at the time to MacDill. But the way that the housing market has been, I don't think that we would have been able to afford that location had we been in the same point in our lives with our military income and Jen's job. But the housing market's just gone crazy there.
But this is not the same house. Is this the same house you're talking about that you just sold to move up here?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So we lived there. Yeah, we lived in the same house for 10 years in Tampa.
Wow. Okay. Could you give us a little idea where that is? Was that near the bay? You're near the water in downtown, right?
So we were 4 miles north of the base. So
Okay.
We were like 20 minutes from downtown, which is a really good location. But, one of the issues, we wouldn't have had a choice really we wanted a place close enough because Tom would be on alert. Sometimes we had to be able to get to work in a certain time frame. And so you really can't go outside of like probably 5-10 mile radius and be able to make it to the base, in a reasonable amount of time. And now it's even worse. So like towards the end of the time when he was in the military, like 4 miles would take him 30 minutes sometimes. Yeah. So like
down there in Tampa?
Yeah. And the problem is, interestingly enough, which we didn't really realize when we got there, is, Tampa, where we were in South Tampa, you're like a mile from the water on both sides. And
right.
So, there's not a lot of room for, to do any kind of infrastructure improvement, really, because the roads are only so wide. You've got, houses or businesses on either side. So you can't really make anything larger in terms of roads. So you have a lot more people still trying to get through the bottlenecks of these roads. So not only that, but over the years, because of, all the changes and all the construction, we had problems where the internal piping and everything was not keeping up with the number of people that were there. So then what you would end up having is a torrential rain would then flood roads. So wow. Not only were there too many people trying to travel. Now, I drive a Suburban, so it wasn't a problem for me. But there were cars flooded out in the middle of the road, and you couldn't even get anywhere from point A to point B because you'd see all these cars flooded out.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we were in flood zone A, which meant that we were the first to evacuate. Once they call evacuation orders, we had to evacuate. And we had to do that, 3 times, I think?
3 times, yeah.
So, and then our house was 10 years old. So not old, but too old to then, benefit from hurricane windows. So then Tom was spending all day putting up hurricane shutters to prep for these hurricanes. And by the last time we did that, he turned to me and he's like, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. On top of, all the other things that Tom has mentioned, we decided that it was a lot of stress, a lot of angst. Because, I mean, if you're not living there, maybe you don't follow, but like, 4 or 5 days out, a hurricane's coming. They're like, oh, it looks like it's heading straight for Tampa. So whether or not it does, you still have to prepare like it does, like it will hit. So it was a lot of stress, a lot of angst. There's a lot of prep involved. Hurricane shutter is just one of the things, getting gas, shopping, preparing the kids mentally, all of this kind of is, all rolled up into a very stressful few days. And, luckily we never had any issues, but the one time you don't prepare, that's the time when you're going to have issues. So to your point, Greg, the insurance was ridiculous. Like, because we were in a flood zone and because of where we were located, we had to pay astronomical prices. And there were even issues. We never had that problem. We had friends who were even having problems getting insurance at all. So if you have a mortgage, like, that's also very stressful, trying to like deal with that whole situation too.
Yeah. So, it's interesting when I post the video and you have 11,000 views, people like to comment, right? So I can some of your stuff you're telling me about, I can remember some of the comments I read. I mean, basically what you're kind of saying to me is like the infrastructure of the city and where you are is not really built to handle that surmount of population growth.
And they've been working to address it, but like Tampa's kind of in a constant state of, infrastructure projects that will pop up, whether it's for storm drainage, like Jen was saying, improve the water pressure. There was a big project that took like 6 months in front of our house as we left, just because, with the demand that was being put on the water system there, it was not keeping up. So they had to improve the pipes to improve the water pressure to all the houses. So it's just been a constant state of infrastructure improvement right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing that someone commented, Jen, and it's funny because I've been tooting my horn about the whole insurance thing. And, people call me from South Florida recently and they're like, I want to make sure I have impact windows. I'd like a block house. And
so
I'm like, if I wasn't from South Florida, I'd be like, wait, what?
No. So funny story. So I'm at the design center, and that was one of the first questions I asked, because he told me, he's like, make sure we're not doing shutters. Make sure you ask them about, impact resistant windows. Of course, I go into the design center and I'm asking this, and they looked at me like I had 4 heads. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't use those here. And I was like, what? Really? Are you sure? Like, I'm thinking we might need them. Like, I have, flashbacks of like all the stress of putting up like hurricane shutters.
Yeah.
And ours weren't even the metal ones. Ours were the fabric ones, and they were still very cumbersome and difficult to deal with. So yeah, that was funny. They thought that I was crazy, but I did ask.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not, because it's a common question when you come from down south, anywhere south of Orlando or Tampa. Building code is completely different, and it was changed after Hurricane Andrew. I think it changes right around north of Tampa, I believe. Where the building code is different. But I mean, when you think about it, when I tell people what insurance costs, I try to give them an average. Go, yeah, you're going to pay, on good insurance for a 3,000 square foot. And your house is way bigger than mine. But, I'm in a 3,400 square foot house, and my insurance all in plus flood. And I don't even need flood. We're in an X zone here in October. So, I mean, I'm all in at maybe 2,400, and it used to be 1,400. So it has been going up over the years. But I mean, I don't even know what kind of rates do you guys, I mean, you have a bigger house than me. It's not that much more, is it?
No.
Annually?
Yeah.
And they have a big home, people. So, I mean, when I tell people this from South Florida, they're paying 5, 6, close to the water, 9.
We were paying
11,000 a year.
11,000 a year. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's like almost $1,000 a month on home insurance, just shy of it. That's insane, Yeah.
And now it did not start off that way. So interestingly, like, when we first moved there, we were C. Our house didn't move, nothing moved, but because the insurance industry got so crazy, they started, FEMA came in and started, adjusting all of the rates, and decided now, I think they just wanted more money from a lot of people that were there. So all of a sudden we were like C, and then we became A. like nothing changed. Our house didn't change, but they redesignated us, and then our insurance went like through the roof. So we have a neighbor in Tampa. So I mean, we might get to this a little later, but that's another big difference between like where we were in Tampa and like Nocatee. You don't get like communities of new builds. That's not how it works there. So there is no land available basically. So the only opportunity you have to like build a new house is to buy a lot, tear down the old house, and then build where the existing house was. So you won't ever see huge in South Tampa specifically. Now, like when you go further north, like there are,
The bird.
communities like that. But like in South Tampa, like it's very eclectic. So you might have, a ranch style house next to like a really modern $3 million house. So, and a lot of people are drawn to that. Like they don't want to walk, drive into a neighborhood and see all the same type of houses. But when you are in the position of being able to tear down a house and build a new one, then you have to, adjust your requirements to the current like code, to your point, like to the current building code. So our neighbors tore down their house, built it, and they had a 1-story house, but their 1-story house was the same height as our almost right as our 2-story
raise it up
house.
like it's probably about an 8 foot above where they were before with a large staircase because of the different classifications, with the insurance and the changing classifications of the zones there. So like the houses are being built up very high right now.
So that actually saved them because at some point they may not even have been able to insure their old ranch style. So for people who are in Tampa looking at older homes, that is certainly something to consider, because at some point you may not be able to get insurance because those houses are like so I guess flood prone that like nobody wants to insure you. So you have to like think about that when you're deciding to like buy and where to buy and all that.
Well, you don't the government insurance, they have to insure you, right?
I don't know what the rules are about that. Do they have to?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there is government insurance that have to.
But it's usually not as good. So then you have that issue too.
No, it's not. And by the way, it used to be affordable. It's not affordable anymore. So I mean, basically, what you're saying is that you have to be able to afford. You can't have a mortgage on a house without insurance. So if you don't have insurance, you have to pay cash. So it sounds to me you just have a lot of money coming in, basically buying a lot, tearing it down, and building a home. So I mean, you're talking millions of dollars. It sounds like
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's next level.
So, yeah, like there, I mean, you'll put like a 4,500 square foot house, let's say 4,500, and you're putting it on like a 6,000 square foot lot. So not even that big. Like you basically have no backyard. And these houses are going for 2.2, 2.5.
Wow.
And people are paying it because they want to be in South Tampa. So your
Are
money
they
definitely.
2-3 homes or just 2 stories? Or do they go up to 3 stories? Some of these houses.
No, they're usually 2.
We've seen 1 or 2 3-story houses, but they're typically 2. But we have seen a couple of 3-story homes pop up because the yards are so small. Right. When they put new ones up, they'll have to do that to save as much space in the yard as they can. So a few, but not many. Most of them are.
I mean, when you're spending that kind of money, you want to get as much under air square footage as you can. The only way you can do it that is by going up. But I mean, when you guys built there, how do you? I mean, I'm so used to the national tract building and semi-custom builders. How did you pick a builder there? How did that work?
We picked a lot. I mean, it was very it was before this boom in teardowns and rebuilds at the time that we moved in. That's very common now. It wasn't then. Jen just happened to stumble across what was at the time was a lot that was owned by a builder, but they had not yet built on.
Okay.
So we picked a lot. Jen tracked down the builder, and we picked out our floor plan from there. And from there,
So I guess it's sort of semi-custom, Greg. So like to what you would think. So he was like, oh, you can put this floor plan or this floor plan on it.
Yeah.
Because those are the floor plans that were approved by the city. And the city of Tampa is notorious for like being difficult to get things processed and permitted. So these plans had already been approved by the city. So they weren't going to deviate much from that. They were like, oh, you can add a bonus room or you can add this. So I guess you would have called it semi-custom, but it was, we couldn't knock walls down or anything like that. So.
Right. They call it like spot speculation homes, like they're spot in different areas rather than one community. Builders buy the land, bring it down, and then see what they get in. All right. So really quick, before I forget this, because Tom, I wanted to ask you this. I always tell people that Jacksonville is a big military city. There's 90,000 military employees here. I know we have Homeland Security here, the naval base. We have all these things going on. I just want to know, because we have a lot of people, military, that are moving to the area or considering the area. And I think it's part of our culture that makes Jacksonville so special. Would you give me a comparison? Is it bigger in Tampa than even here, or is this a bigger military area, or what would be your opinion on that?
I think so. There's probably this is probably more Navy heavy than what it is in Tampa. We've got two major commands in Tampa. They're there at MacDill Air Force Base. A lot of Air Force that's there, obviously. A lot of Army. There's two major commands there, so there's a lot of things going on. But I think just in terms of like the space, I mean, I think Jacksonville is a little bigger in terms of the activity for operational type stuff. So
okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I would suspect that too. But I was just curious because when I was talking to you at a barbecue the other day, you kept talking about. I'm like, you know what? They have a big presence there, obviously, as well. So I think that's maybe a little bit of the similarities. Not a lot of cities have that, and I think that. Well, I can say it if I want. I don't really care. It's my show, but I mean, I think the military influence to me is a good cultural backbone to any city. Just disciplined, intelligent, brave, good, characteristic human beings for the most part. And Tom probably is sitting there going, "Well, you've never been in, dude, so you may be giving high praise where it doesn't belong." But I don't care. I couldn't do it. I admire those folks, and anybody I know that's military in this area that I know are good, respectable folks, and I love the fact that they're here. I don't know, why I feel that way, because I haven't been in the military. Hell, I was a resident alien, so I moved to the country when I was a kid. But I do highly respect that in people's service. I think to me, that's like. That's what makes America American to me, and proud to be here and fortunate to be here. So I appreciate your service for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the wallet, because and I know there's a couple people watching, and whoever's watching, if you want to put some comments or questions or tell us where you're watching from, please. This is totally interactive. I don't want to make this a one-way thing, but I think a big question always is, from the wallet standpoint, I don't think people realize how expensive a lot of places are in South Florida. Tampa is like, I think they were the #1 fastest growing city the last couple of years in Florida. I mean, can you guys speak to that? Is that one of the reasons maybe you left as well? Is that an influence? I mean, we already touched upon home insurance being, you're paying $25 here, maybe $2,500 a year here, or $3,000, and there it was $11,000, and you're still 5 miles from the beach here in Nocatee.
Yeah,
weird.
That's definitely one of the factors. In the 10 years that we owned our home, the value basically tripled from when we bought it. So because the demand for housing in the area, and even despite the relatively high interest rates, they're still commanding quite a premium for homes there in Tampa. So everything worked out for us that we wanted to take advantage of the the value of the home that the going market rate was, and then put that money into a nice home here in the much more of a neighborhood community, like I alluded to earlier. But yeah, we got in at a good time and we got out at a good time, but it was time to go. So we were fortunate in the way the timing worked out. But like I said, tripled in value, and had we been a couple of years ago trying to move into that area with the where we were at in our lives at the beginning of our time in Tampa, we would not have been able to have moved into the area that we did, just because of the demand, which I think a lot of it was driven by COVID. A lot of people decided to move to Florida, and Tampa was a hot spot destination for people moving in.
Okay, so why do you think people would choose Tampa over Jacksonville?
Well, I mean, it's definitely for younger professionals. It's a great area. I think with the sports teams that are there, I think it's definitely a hot spot for restaurants and bars and the
There's a
social
bigger
scene
party
in the
scene there.
area is pretty well. I'm sorry.
There's a bigger party scene over there for
Oh,
you.
yeah.
So yeah.
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 Which, and the stage of our lives, that's not a draw for us. But I
No,
will
you
say,
guys were over my barbecue. Y'all were out of hand that Sunday afternoon. I mean, Jen, I don't know how many bottles of water you had that afternoon.
so I will tell you, I mean, like we're really talking up Nocatee because we absolutely love it here. But there have been some things that we've had to get used to, right? So, you wanted the good and the bad. So I think this is a good time to kind of, since we've been here a few weeks, we've kind of really figured out like some of the things that we're really having to get used to. One of those, if you travel a lot, it's not easy to get to the airport. Like here, like in Nocatee, we're like 45 minutes from the airport. That is not an easy trip in my experience. And where we were in South Tampa, so you asked why South Tampa. Well, we were literally 10 minutes from the Tampa International Airport, but we were far enough so that like you didn't hear airport noise. So like, you could leave your house at 4:30 and easily make a 5:30 flight, like no problem at all. So if you travel a lot, that's certainly a consideration, right? Like the convenience of having an airport that close. Certainly that's something, because I don't travel a lot for work, but I travel enough so that I've noticed that that's like one of the things I'm going to have to get used to.
Okay, but before you go on, and I want you to continue, I really do. But can I ask you a question? Because I haven't really flown into Tampa Airport. I love flying into Jacksonville Airport. It's a breeze. Does that make up for it? Our airport being a little more chill flying in or out? No, Tampa Airport's awesome.
Tampa Airport's awesome.
They put a lot of, I mean, as Tampa grew as a hot spot for business and the area expanded, they put a lot of money into the airport in Tampa. They've always got construction going on there, and they're making huge improvements to the airport. It's very fast, very efficient. We love the airport there. It's very convenient,
fast.
located in a good spot. So it definitely is a high quality airport.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
especially for the size of the city.
Yeah, no, so that's true. And you have a lot more like direct flights. Like that's one of the things, like, so for me going to I have to travel to DC for work, Washington, DC. Like I have to, I'm going to work for work in a couple weeks, and I'm going to probably be flying from Jacksonville to Baltimore because I fly Southwest. The only airlines that go from Jacksonville to DC are United and American, not my favorite, airlines. So you have to kind of make adjustments. You can make the adjustments. It's just, you have to be, you have to go in with your, eyes open and realize that is a definite change that you have to get used to.
Yeah, and I definitely want people to know that because we have a lot of professionals here with so many industries in Jacksonville. We do have a lot of working professionals, including Monica as well, has to fly to Seattle and all these places.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried flying out of Orlando because that's what people do for those direct flights. I hate Orlando. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't like flying out of there. So I won't do the direct flight from Orlando. I'd rather fly to Atlanta or Charlotte all day long. I do agree with you guys 100%. Like last week when we came back from Montana, 2 hours difference, we got in at 12 a.m. and we weren't home till 12:45, 1 in the morning, and the girls were tired. So it was an extra 45 minutes. So I get it. I get that. All right. So what's the next good and bad? I like this.
So the other thing that I wouldn't say bad. So it's things we're getting used to, right? So where we were in Tampa, you could literally get anywhere in 5 to 10 minutes in a certain area. It does take, like I said, it takes 30 minutes during traffic to get to the base. But I'm thinking of conveniences for shopping, right? So here in Nocatee, we have a Publix, which is great, but that's from where we live in the new community of Coral Ridge. It's still 10 minutes. It's not you're just literally down the road. But in Tampa where we were, we could get to Lowe's in 5 minutes, we could get to Target in 5 minutes, and we could get to Home Depot, maybe 10, right? And there was a Chick-fil-A, 2 Chick-fil-A's within 10 minutes of each other. So
be careful what you wish for. Unfortunately, I think we're getting a Chick-fil-A, but anyway.
Well, right. So a lot of people don't like that because then, where you have shopping, you have a lot more people and a lot more people congregating in one area, and it kind of ruins what Tom was talking about, that nice family environment where, you can let your kids out the front door, they can walk to the playground. The more people you have in an area, the less likely you're going to feel safe with, some of these aspects that have drawn us to Nocatee too. So while I say it's a good and bad, it's not anything we haven't decided that it's, worth it. Like, all the good certainly outweighs the minor inconveniences.
Okay, so comment 9 months ago. I'm from Michigan. I drive to Jax, Tampa, St. Pete. What a SHIT whole traffic mess around.
Yes. Yes.
No way in hell overpopulated Jack's much better.
Yes. 100%. Yep. Exactly.
You can still get to Home Depot in 5 minutes.
Well,
right. And that,
were.
I mean, in the little pocket that we were living in, and if
Yeah.
you stay in South Tampa, everything's convenient. If you've got to go, north for anything, or if you got to travel to Orlando at the wrong time of day because you've got an appointment, I mean, the traffic is crazy. And,
Okay.
there are definitely interstate parking lots that you'll have to contend with if you're leaving your house at the wrong time of day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were saying, why is like where we were living such a draw? And that's why, like, people are willing to pay more money for those conveniences of not, like, you didn't have to get on the highway ever to like be in that 5 mile radius that had all the restaurants you'd ever need, all the shopping, the malls, everything else. Like, it's a very.
But you have 3 Publixes to choose from. Pretty soon you have a third one to choose from for your grocery store. Your Greenwise, which is a Publix store.
I heard that's closing though.
We got a new Publix coming.
Yeah.
All right, so I agree wholeheartedly with you. When we go to Trader Joe's or Target, it's Jack's Beach, and we make a day out, like it's a big Sunday outing, because we have to drive 25 minutes each way to get there.
So are there ways around what I'm saying? Absolutely. We've spent money on Amazon instead of going to Target. Amazon deliveries are great. We have had no problems with that at all. And probably at the end of the day, I'm spending less money because I'm not going in there and like browsing. Right, Tom's like, thank God. Because I'm not going, it's not easy for me to just go in there and start browsing. So like, if you plan your day out, to your point, you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Lowe's. I'm just going to hit them all this today. And we're going to make it a shopping day. And you're only going to do that once every other week or whatever. Like, ultimately, like, you have to plan around that. And it's nothing, to me, that does not outweigh all the great things about Nocatee that we've experienced.
Okay, all right, I'm loving this. Okay, so the airport was closer, way more convenient, way more direct flights in Tampa. I told you I'm going to be honest and humble. I don't care. If you want to move to Tampa, I'll send you to a realtor in Tampa that I know.
I've got some realtors I can.
Yeah, then you too. But anyway, okay, so airport, convenience of the commercial stores, and more variety near where you are living. Let's keep going. I like this. What else you got?
Okay, so let's turn to the positives for Nocatee. You want to take that one?
Oh, wait, no, there's no more negatives?
That's probably the most.
Because everybody knows Nocatee, this area is pretty popular. Is there anything else that, Tom, that you want to add in there that's you miss about? I mean,
well,
I'm really
just in the comparison, I think we haven't gotten into like activities for kids or anything like that. In Tampa, there's a large variety of sporting events and things for the kids to participate in. And I've heard that is available here as well. I don't know if it's got the same variety. I think we've only been here a matter of weeks right now, so we've still got to dig into some of that. But just as we were talking through all the comparisons, I think there was a lot of things for the kids to do. If you put them in the car, you drive them somewhere and everything. I mean, the activities were available there in Tampa. Excuse me. I think as starting to look at this neighborhood that we moved into, like Jen said, it's very easy to have the children go out the front door, find friends, and go to the park that's right across the street, the playground. That you would not do in Tampa. I mean, you would not let your kid go play in the front yard. You would not, because it was a dangerous area, but there's fast traffic right out your front door. There's dogs in the neighborhood that you don't necessarily want the kids near. So that's just some of the things that we experienced as we were wrapping up our time there in Tampa and getting here. You know, it was very refreshing to let the kids go out the front door. They're finding friends because it's a brand new neighborhood that we've moved into. All the families that are coming in are, you know, about at the same point in their lives. I think lots of children for our kids to find and play with, and they're meeting them at camps and stuff. So
Yeah, totally.
And schools, we can't forget about schools. Like I
Yeah,
know
let's talk about schools. I mean, what did you guys do for schools there? I mean, you really haven't had a chance for your daughters to experience the schools here yet.
Yeah.
Although they got to hang out with my kids, and that's
Yeah. So South Tampa has A-rated schools. They're very good.
Public schools.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the county as a whole, it's a very large county. So not unlike, you know, St. Johns County is also very large. And so you have a mixture of schools like you would in any like large area. The schools our kids went to, we didn't agree with a lot of the decisions that were made during COVID. So during that time, we pulled our kids out of the public school and put them in private school for 2 years. So we could kind of get around, like the school board had a lot of control over what was being done in the public school system, which we did not agree with at all. Like we didn't feel like they should have as much control over our children's education as they did. So, you know, that was a driving factor of us pulling them out for a couple of years. But, you know, we are, you know, my husband, I went to a private school, but like my husband, you know, went through a public school system in New York. Like we are proponents of the public school system in general. Like, I went to a private school just because of where I grew up, just public schools were bad. But like in general, we're like very, you know, we think it's important for our kids to experience public schools and, you know, be around kids that aren't necessarily like them, you know, understanding that they have to deal with people out in the real world, you know, and so that's important for us, for them to learn, you know, at an early age. So we never really thought that we would have them in private schools for an extended period of time. It made sense for us at the time just because of the situation. But the schools, like we would not have moved for the schools necessarily, but St. John's is the #1 school district in the state, so that certainly helped their decision. But the Tampa schools are very good as well.
The private schools you were sending them to must have been very expensive. I mean, private school anywhere these days is pretty expensive. No, I mean,
this one wasn't too bad because it was very, very small. It was a small Christian school, and that's also what like drew us to that because. Like, you know, one of our children had 4 kids in the class and the other one had like 6. So it was almost like their own little homeschool pod. So during COVID, that made a lot of sense for us, you know, but we always knew that was a permanent solution. Yeah. But I mean, I will say Tampa schools are good. Like that certainly is not a reason not to move there.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just curious. You said most people moved to St. Johns County for the schools. You said that wasn't the reason what led you here. Can you give me a little more background on what led you here and how you picked Nocatee? I don't even know how you found me, actually, to be honest with you. Was it
your
from
YouTube channel? I found you.
Oh, you found me on YouTube. Okay, cool. All right. Yes. I couldn't remember or not if you did.
Yeah.
I remember asking what your previous experience was, and I'm not going to get into that tonight. But
no, but it was important for us to have. I mean, it meant a lot for us to have somebody who lived here, who lived in the community, who could like kind of give us the rundown of like why you chose Nocatee and why you were here, and like, you know, just having those conversations. Not being from around here, that was important. We can do Google research all day long, but unless you're talking to somebody who's actually experiencing, you know, what you're hoping to, like, it doesn't mean as much as having those meaningful conversations with people that are actually going through it.
Yeah, I think that's one thing you and I shared, Jen. You're very direct, and I'm very direct. So it was a very easy meeting of the minds. I was like, oh, yeah, you really want to know? I'll tell you.
Right.
And then you weren't shy about sharing your opinion about certain things at all either. So that's good because, I mean, at the end of the day, it stinks because we're not allowed to talk about anything as real estate brokers. You know, it's kind of ridiculous because people are trying to pick a place to live. Got to be careful of steering, redlining, anything. Speaking of all that, we're 40 minutes in and we only have 20 minutes left. I'm just curious. It's in the back of my mind. I told you I wasn't going to bring it up, but it's completely not opinionated at all. But you said you took your kids out of public school during COVID because you didn't like what was going on. I'm completely clueless because all I do is city data from here and I'm from South Florida. Is it more Republican based or more Democratic based?
No, it's very liberal. Yeah.
It's very liberal. Okay. All right. So that's a big difference as well, which is interesting to me because aren't most military areas mostly conservative, or is that a generalization?
In the area that we lived in, there was some military, but it was not a high concentration.
It's so expensive.
It was so expensive. So a lot of it's a very transient. Any military area is very transient. So people moving in and out typically have 2 to 3 years. So I retired in Tampa, and it just so happened that I stayed there for 10 years. The people that were more transient and moved in more recently were living much farther out and had a longer travel in. I mean, they were probably between 45 minutes to an hour typically to get in from the high concentrated military areas that where a lot of people settled. So
yeah,
it's just a reality of the cost of living there in South Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's kind of like the same thing, like Duval, Jacksonville is more blue. As you come to the suburbs, it's more red, more conservative. Is that kind of the same vibe it was there?
Yeah.
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 Okay, cool. All right. That's all I'm going to ask, I promise. All right. We'll go back. You mentioned COVID. I'll tell you what, I mean, people from New York were calling me up going, I just need shelter to get out of here because my kids were being forced to eat outside in the snow.
Well, you're from New York. You get it.
I thought that was a joke. Honestly, I thought it was a complete exaggeration. Then somebody sent me a picture of their daughter sitting on a plastic bucket outside in the middle of winter eating lunch.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you why because we have enough intelligent people that watch this show that they can figure that out on their own. Okay, so why'd you pick Nocatee and what drew you to this? Was it Nocatee the only area in St. John's that you considered?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we definitely we're on the hunt for something that's much more of a community feel. We like the idea of a planned community that had a central hub of, the water parks were a huge draw because we got younger children as well as 2 older ones that have left the house. But for the 2 younger kids, this is the kind of stuff that we were looking for, as well as neighborhood with long sidewalks and, nature trails for them to, ride their bikes in. And that we didn't have there in Tampa. So that was one of the things we were looking for. We looked in other states. We took a look in Texas. But
that's where I'm from.
As we looked, and we just kept hearing great things about Nocatee. And I think it was almost 2 years that we kept our eye on this area before we finally pulled the trigger after, our older kids got to the point where we were comfortable leaving the area. And we wanted to move before our 2 younger ones got into middle school and the move got harder. So that's what we were, the timing was right. And at the time, we kept coming back to Nocatee as some place that checked all the boxes we were looking for.
Okay, cool. I like that. Where in Texas were you guys looking to move back to? Where you're from, Jen, or what area?
No. So I grew up in College Station, and for those of you online don't know where that is, it's where Texas A&M is. Usually people understand, no, not that. So it's where Texas A&M is, and it's a very college centered area. So not like a place that has a lot of business like what we would be doing. So we were looking. I have family in the Dallas area, so we were looking in the Dallas area. But again, kind of very similar to like where we were in Tampa. Like the cost was just out of control for the area we wanted to live in. We wanted the good schools. We wanted to be close to family. And so it just, the cost was very, very high. So we feel like, and Tom really wanted to stay in Florida. We really enjoy Florida. We definitely we wanted to stay somewhere where, you didn't have state income tax. So, Texas doesn't either. So that was like important to us. You said making your dollar kind of stretch further. And in this economy, you kind of look at everything that will help you do that. So, it made sense for us to, be able to get the equity out of our home in Tampa and be able to buy something where you're not paying even more money and have a higher, mortgage than what you had in the previous place. That didn't make a lot of sense to do. So this just made sense for us financially. That this was like, and we had the flexibility to be able to do the new construction because we were already in a house. We knew that we didn't, there was no timeline associated with us having to sell that house by a certain time. So we had the luxury of, being able to find that new community and build, pick a builder and, pick the community. Well, I guess this is probably the only community we really wanted, but it gave us that flexibility. Some people don't have the luxury of time, so we were fortunate that we did.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about this experience was, and one of the things that kind of led me to this was I was looking for an area that was still growing, where new houses were going in, because there are a lot of families that are also just moving in, and they want to network and meet their neighbors and stuff like that. So if you've ever had the experience of moving into a neighborhood that's already well established, you kind of feel like an outsider for a long time, but moving into this new community, like everybody is walking over to meet their neighbors and everything, because nobody knows anybody here basically, because it's such a new community. And that was something that kind of attracted us to this, and to have that experience where everybody is, eager to get out and have their kids meet and meet each other and stuff like that. So the growing community of Nocatee definitely offered that other places didn't have.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there, because I remember the journey of how we started out, Jen. I mean, first of all, one of the big questions everybody is trying to make the big move is the logistics, and you guys had the benefit of being able to stay in your current home until your new home was built, and it took exactly a year to build your new home. And I'll tell you what, I don't think there wasn't a month or a week went by where you weren't texting me going, when the house going to be ready? Because you wanted to capitalize on selling your home. And right. You guys did extremely well. I was like, Jen, stop texting me. If the stars could align any better for you guys, I don't know what the hell to tell you, to be honest with you. You guys, your timing was impeccable. But who the heck knew what was going to happen in the market? Because all the way leading up to this, we were like, the market's going to correct itself, and the market's going to correct itself. You guys move in, and now the market's somewhat correcting itself, but not really. It's just stopped going up. I mean, we had 33% growth, and then you guys are down there in Tampa, and your house is tripling in value while you're not renting, wasting money in rent, and you're building a beautiful home. And you guys were like guinea pigs, because I remember, Jen, we were looking at resales because you wanted to be in a specific area. And one of the points I tell everybody, yeah, you can move in a specific area that's going to be established, but it will never be the same experience than moving into a new community where everybody's new, because everybody's like, where did you move from? What did you build? How was your experience? Do you have kids? Blah, blah, blah. The social media pages, everything. Everybody's new. In my neighborhood, everybody's kind of like, we did all that, and now we're like, I like them, but not that much. Everybody kind of picks their friends or their kids. Their kids' parents are your friends, really, more or less, in a way. But it's a lot easier when everybody's new in a community. So, I mean, Tom, your point is spot on that. The crazy thing about this is that, God help me, I'm trying to sell Jen a house that doesn't exist anywhere around for her to see anything. And Tom, sometimes you intimidate me a little bit. So if you have been there, where can we walk into this? You want me to buy a house for how much, this big, and not even go, what the hell I'm walking into? And I'm like, yeah, great deal. Not only there wasn't a time that Jen didn't text me and go, are you sure this is a good idea? Or is this going to be good?
Well, when you have your salesperson having to fly drones over to get pictures of your lot because you can't drive on, it is a little bit worrisome, Greg.
Yes. Okay. But let me do the other side of that. The benefit of that is you guys were one of the first people to build a build that has never been done in a neighborhood by a builder that never been done, because that builder was slow to the start than everybody else. And because of that, the benefits of the price increases in that year were astronomical. Even with the market correction, you guys walked into a home 12 months later with a excuse my French, but a crap load of equity. I mean, in this day and age, it was insane. So not only did you triple your home value in Tampa, but then you walked into this house from the purchase price of day one of construction and then moving in and going, oh, wow, it's already worth this much. I mean, that didn't happen since 2005 and 6. And then everybody will say, oh, well, that's the crash 8 and 9. Is it going to happen? That's different. Back then was mortgage-backed securities. Anybody could get a loan. You guys were qualified. You were a qualified buyer. I like to think that I attract qualified buyers. I like qualified people. You know, I mean, there's not a lot of people that can say, "Hey, I'm good. I can build and still hang on in my current home." But you guys took a lot of chances there, and like you said, at the time, you couldn't even drive into your neighborhood. This was purely off pictures from the sky. You know,
I'm not gonna lie. I had some, struggles with, are we making the right decision? But my husband was great. He's like, this is gonna be great. This is the best.
why wasn't I talking to him all the time then? Why was I talking to you?
because he is supposed to make me feel better. You're gonna give me the way it really is.
You made me feel like, as your real estate professional, that if it didn't pan out, I was screwed. So I was stressed out.
I was going to say, but to be fair, I mean, we did look and we're very close to taking chances in other lots and other neighborhoods that we backed away from. And as we decided to take our chance on this neighborhood, there were indicators along the way that, this was going to go well, that we knew that, there were multiple builders that were interested in investing in this and building up this particular neighborhood that we moved into. And, there were efforts going into the parks, the community aspects of the pools and everything. So we got stronger indicators that this was a smarter risk to take than some of the other places we came close to building.
I mean, by all means, anybody watching this and recording and watching now, I mean, you guys did some serious research. I mean, you were contemplating researching this for a couple of years, and you weren't going in blind. And honestly, there are some days where my wife makes me feel like we missed the boat. And then the other thing is, because this is really, you picked a community where really this was it for Nocatee to build that size of a home in a gated community. There's just a lot of things about this that just doesn't exist anymore or whatever, and won't. I mean, you can still build there, but I mean, you guys got the best pricing to us lots and everything. And sometimes, my wife makes me feel slightly guilty. Oh, you're building all these homes for all your clients or whatever. I wanted a bigger house. I want to be down there. But, the problem was I didn't want to change my kids out of school. But the good indicator for me is, and this is a pro tip too, and I've noticed it in another community I'm selling right now here in St. Johns County. When your sales rep tells you that he's going to be moving down the street from you.
Yes. It's a good indicator. Right.
Something tells me that's a good sign.
Right.
And the salesperson we dealt with at the builder, they ended up telling you, but I didn't know when to tell you or how to tell you or what. I was dying to tell you, but you found out anyway, because I was like, trust me, that's a good indicator when somebody who works for the company for that long is also doing that. That's a good indicator. And
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for those people who are watching, or maybe will watch later, one thing I would encourage you guys to do is talk to people that, let's say you're trying to decide between builder A and builder B. The people that are building with each of those builders, they're going to tell you the truth. There have been some challenges in our community. I won't say anything more, but there have been challenges with, some of the, our neighbors and their builds. And I think it's really important for people to just talk to people that, are already there, or maybe, have recently built, and just get their, take on the good, the bad, because people will share their experiences. And I found that that was like really helpful when we were going through the process too. Is just stop and say, hey, we're thinking about this. Have you ever have you ever built a home with this company or this company? And you may still decide the same, but at least you're going in knowing that you might have some challenges, not challenges you can't work through, but just knowing what those are, because when you're not from an area. The builder that built our home in Tampa doesn't build here. So like we didn't have any experience with any of the builders here. So for us, it was kind of all the same. But for various reasons, people choose one builder or another. But I would highly recommend, you to talk to your agent, but just talk to the people that are already living here and have already built a home, and they'll tell you, a lot of good, like I said, the good, the bad, and what to watch out for. So I would highly recommend that for anybody watching.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm doing a show actually for next week that talks about builders, because people ask me to rank builders, and offline that we have those conversations. That's the whole point of having a real estate professional. If you're hiring a real estate professional, one of your questions you should be asking, and you said it earlier, Jen, is you said, hey, you live there. Okay, so that's one question that might be important to you or not. Maybe not. I don't know. It's up to you. But the other question is how many builds do you have going on in this community, and how familiar are you with the builders and the builder's rep? Because you and I had an experience with that builder that you're talking about, because I know what you're talking about, and we dodged a bullet there. And, I can say, and I'm not being arrogant at all, by the grace of God, that, I'm a straight shooter. And when I deal with people, sometimes you can pick up on things going, if this is good, and it too, Jen, because you get angry when you're not happy. And you and I picked up really quickly at the beginning going, if this is the way things are now, can you imagine while you're building a massive structure for that kind of money, what kind of stress you could possibly put in? So in a way, we kind of dodged a bullet. So it's important to ask and I love the fact that I have people that quite genuinely, if somebody was saying, hey, I want to build with this builder or this, I go, hey, I got a client building with them now. They'd be glad to talk to you. I think, did I pass you on to anybody talking? Did I?
Yes. Yeah, we talked to one of your clients. Yep.
Yeah. I value that so much, that you guys are so willing to help another neighbor out. I think that's what makes this place so awesome. It's very big, but it's small. So, like for some of my New Yorkers out there, like, I don't want everybody knowing my business. Well, guess what? If your kid's a jerk, we're going to know your business.
Yeah. For good or bad, you're going to know you're the business.
Yeah. We're all trying to raise normal kids here. So, we like to know each other's. We like to know our kids' parents are hanging out with and everything. Yeah. We're kind of old school in a little way, It's like, hey, our kids are hanging out. Why don't you guys come over for a barbecue?
I'll just say that's not.
I don't touch this. I want to hang out with you. I want to know what Tom's really like.
That's not easy to find, really, in the communities that we've been in. We moved around a lot with the military, and what you're talking about is. What I experienced growing up in a small town, and it was something that, like, we felt like we were not able to give our two older kids just because of, a lot of moves that we did. And that was really a factor that we were looking for with this. And, we want to know the parents. We want to know that the kids can go out the front and find friends down the street, and in a relatively low traffic area. That's not what we have right now because of all the construction that's going on. But when that ends, it's going to be a low traffic area, and, we don't have to worry about, what the kids are doing out in the front yard, et cetera. So what you're talking about, I think is rare, and that's what we found here and what we were hoping to find.
Yeah, it's more value than just the house. Okay, we have 1 minute left. I want to respect your time. Would you do it again? Each one of you can answer. Secondly, what would you do differently? And I think that's good. And anything else you want to tell or share tonight?
Right now, I don't think that anything is jumping out at me that I would necessarily change. Like I said, the timing for us was pretty impeccable. With the new neighborhood going in, I'm sure that's going to be harder to find now, just given where the development is at. So I'm sorry for the people that are watching that are hoping to find that, but I mean, there's still houses in new communities. And I definitely think that, it worked out well for us. And now we're just going through those questions like what you mentioned. Do we build a pool? Do we not? Those kinds of things that are major additions to the house that we didn't want to necessarily do at the time that we moved in, because we wanted a little bit of time to figure out, what's available in the community. What do we think we want to add on to our house to entertain our kids, friends, etc. So, we'll get to the pool decision and stuff like that. I think over the next couple months, but really, I don't have
great. You guys have like a football field behind your house.
We have a good sized yard.
And our neighbor came across who doesn't have as big of a yard, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys have a huge yard!" I was like, "Yeah, we do. It's nice." That's the benefit of being like number 2 in the community. So
from my perspective, it worked out well. I don't think I would really change anything major in the move, but.
And I think your first question was, would we do it again? Hands down, no regrets at all. Like 0 regrets. Would do it all over again. Even for all the bumps that I shouldn't say all, with some of the bumps that we ran into, like overall, super happy with our builder. Loved we still have a really good relationship with, construction manager, that we had. He was amazing. I would do it all over again with him, and like the whole process. With anything, you're going to have bumps in the road, but I think we had far fewer than other people, like in our same situation. So hands down, never regretted that decision. We've loved every minute of being here. We've tried to take advantage of everything from, the 4th of July fireworks and party, and food truck Fridays. We're excited because
community events.
Yeah, we're going to be able to do the farmers market this Saturday. We haven't been able to do that because we were out of town for the last one, so we're excited about that. So we're just really trying to take advantage of everything that Nocatee has, because that's why we moved here. So we're very excited.
Well, Jen and Tom, welcome to the neighborhood. It hasn't been long, but I really sincerely appreciate you, first of all, for choosing me to be on this journey with you. It has been an absolute pleasure to serve you. I know I'm like a chicken with my head cut off sometimes, trying to handle everybody, but I'll tell you what, it's been fun getting to know you guys and creating a new friendship. I really thank my wife for doing the whole camp video with me, because our daughters got to meet in camp and hang out. That was so cool.
Yes.
So I'm a believer everything happens for a reason, but you guys are the kind of people that I'm so glad that I could be a part of moving to the area.
And I'm so glad I found you on YouTube, and I would choose you as an agent every day, all day long.
It's a great experience, so we appreciate the work that you put in.
Thank you so much, Jen. And for everybody that's watching, I hope you found value tonight. I know a lot of people are thinking about relocating to Florida. It's a big decision, and I know Tampa is right up there next to Jacksonville. I did a video this last week called Jacksonville is the most underrated city in Florida. I should have called it the best kept secret. And I'm okay with Tampa being number 1 and Jacksonville being number 2, and us staying a little smaller for a little longer. But if you do need help moving to the area and you want a real estate professional that has the connections to folks like these that can help maybe give you a little insight on things and give you the real skinny on it and how it really is, go ahead and give me a call, text me, email me. My information will be in the description below. And of course, make sure you leave some comments if you have any comments. We didn't have any comments tonight. We had people watching, but nobody commented. But if you have any comments, make sure you put them in there, and we'll try to respond to them. Jen, Tom, thanks so much. I'll see you guys in the neighborhood.
Yep,
All right.
sounds good.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.